What's up, everyone? It's Scotty with MoneyVest. So we've got the most important company earnings coming out next week, and that, of course, is going to be none other than Nvidia. Nvidia is going to be reporting earnings on Tuesday, and that is going to be on 11/21. So November 21st is when they are going to be reporting. That's going to be after the markets close. So in this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know for Nvidia earnings and what the expectations are. We're going to run through the numbers. We're going to run through the technical analysis. The stock is pretty much trading at an all-time high with the market cap sitting well over $1.2 trillion as well. So hope you all enjoy this video. Sit back, relax. We're going to talk about this company in a lot of detail. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, find it helpful, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining, and of course getting access to all the members only videos, buy and sell alerts, options alerts, trade ideas. Everything is going to be included. So this right here are going to be the benefits. So you get access to all the members only private videos, Excel spreadsheets, Discord access, over 20 plus channels, and trade alerts, and everything is included with a 16% annual discount that's available till the end of this month. And I did open up a couple more spots, so links going to be down below, and we'd love to have you on board. So this right here is going to be the earnings per share expectations of just over $3.39 per share, with the revenues expected at just over $16 billion, with EPS 38 analysts upgrading the EPS estimates in the last 90 days for Nvidia. Now, as we already know, the revenues and earnings have absolutely exploded for the company in the last year and a half because of all the artificial intelligence and shipments over to other companies, B2B business models with GPUs and high performance computing with respect to artificial intelligence. And Nvidia has literally taken on like wildfire, and revenues here on a trailing 12-month basis just over $32.6 billion. And for this quarter alone, they're expected to report over $16 billion. $16 billion. If you compare that to same time last year in the November quarter, we are looking at, so this right here was the October quarter. They are going to be reporting for the October quarter. So last year, same time, revenue was $6 billion. Can you believe that? $6 billion to $16 billion. That's almost a 200% increase for the company year over year. And earnings per share expected at just over $3.39. EPS back then was 58 cents per share. So we're assuming for at least a 400-500% increase in earnings per share for the company as well. In terms of share count, again, very, very flat. So not really has gone anywhere. We've seen a very strong growth in EBITDA, very strong growth in net income and profitability in the bottom line at just over $10.3 billion. This right here is the profitability grade with excellent margins. Efficiency also growing with return on common equity, capital, and assets also increasing with very good margins on a gross basis, net margin basis, free cash flow margin basis, and of course EBITDA margins as well. So everything's been moving in the right direction, and it's absolutely solid with $16 billion of total cash, with a little bit under $11 billion of total debt, and net debt sitting at just negative $5 billion. So excellent balance sheet with over 2.7 current ratio, 2.2 quick ratio, and a little bit under 3 debt to free cash flow as well for the business. This right here is the valuation. So we have already discussed the valuation with Nvidia and how overvalued. Well, I guess overvalued does have a little bit of a negative connotation to it. So not necessarily overvalued, but expensive stock relative to its peers and relative to its growth as well. So right now you'll notice a PEG ratio is 1.35, which I guess doesn't make Nvidia as expensive as the absolute price earnings model. But of course, 1.35 is still above 1. So it does trade at a little bit of an expensive valuation, but it's not crazy trading at 44, 45 times earnings because the growth is definitely there. And speaking of this year, they're expected to report earnings of just under $11 per share at 228% growth, and that normalizing to 54%, 22%, 15, 20, and then of course moderating a little bit. But the expected growth here all the way to $40 per share for the business is what we're expecting. So 1096. So if you come over here, we're just going to plug in some of these numbers. So 1096, and we're expecting $40.76. We're looking at a 30% growth here for the business. Well, actually a little bit closer to 15-16%. But if you go with somewhat lower 5-year numbers here, 2947. So we're going to plug in 2947. That's going to be for 2029. And we're looking at just over 21, just a little bit under 22% growth for Nvidia. So if we go over to the actual trailing 12-month net income, which is going to be sitting at around $10.4 billion, but we're going to safely assume that given how strongly the earnings are growing on a year-over-year basis, let's just assume that they're going to be able to do $16 to $18 billion in profitability. And the growth rate is going to be, let's say, 20%. And then we also give them a 25 times price to earnings multiple, and we only apply 10% margin of safety with a negative 1% share dilution. We're looking at sub 250 as a price for Nvidia. And again, it kind of depends on, what type of growth rate you're using. So if I jump this number up to, let's say, 24%, then we're now sub $300 as an ideal level for Nvidia from an intrinsic value standpoint. This right here is going to be that sensitivity grid, which you can basically take a look at and figure out, okay, what's the appropriate growth rate? What's the appropriate price to earnings multiple to better understand what's the intrinsic value for Nvidia. For me, as I've always mentioned, that I think 2020 has been a more conservative number, but even 2025 is quite reasonable. So sub $250 is going to be somewhat reasonable for Nvidia. But of course, it's obviously nowhere near close to that level. It would need to drop like close to 49-50% in order to trade down to sub $300, sub $250 per share. This right here is the overall technical analysis, where you'll notice that we are consolidating sideways. So we have mostly been trading in that range, where we've got a resistance at $500 and a support level sitting roughly at $401 per share. And really what we're witnessing with Nvidia is just a lot of consolidation sideways for the stock, right? So this is going to be a resistance up top at $500 and a support level at $401 per share. So just a lot of consolidation sideways for Nvidia. So that's really where we are. If you do get some very strong numbers and some good announcements with respect to artificial intelligence, I mean, there's a possibility that it breaks out even further to past $500, possibly getting up to $550, $575, or $600. I mean, anything is possible with Nvidia right now, because it's one of the most volatile and most hot and trendy stocks right now in the world. So if it does break out above 500, 550, 575, I wouldn't be surprised. But of course, if we do see a little bit of that valuation compression, if the market starts to kind of be more realistic, then a $400, low $400 level is also a possibility for Nvidia. So from a price action standpoint, look, it's going to be difficult. There's no way to predict exactly how the price action is going to behave going into next week after the earnings. But from a fundamental perspective, I can tell you the stock is a little bit more on the expensive side. So for those reasons, I'd be very careful. And especially when you consider the RSI and the MACD, a little bit more on the overbought side here once again. We need to be careful, just understanding that technical, overextended, overbought, fundamentally slightly overexpensive here from a valuation perspective. And look, at low $400, Nvidia was a pretty good deal. But of course, since those levels, we have already rallied over 24-25%. And when I say a pretty good deal, from a technical analysis standpoint, not from a fundamental standpoint. We've also got a couple gaps to fill for Nvidia down all the way over here in the 340s and 350s. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And what do you think about Nvidia stock? Are you buying, selling, or holding prior to the earnings? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, if you enjoyed it, found it helpful, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe and, of course, join our Patreon. You do get access to a lot of members-only private videos, members-only benefits, including Excel spreadsheets, Discord access with over 20-plus channels, trade alerts, trade ideas. Everything is going to be included. And there is a 16% annual discount that's also available till the end of this month as well. So, as always, happy investing, and I'll see you all in the next video.